Good afternoon or good evening, Facebook Live. You know who I am, and you know who's about to make a quick cameo here ahead of my annual NBA playoff breakdown. I'm about to talk a little Russ, a little LeBron, a little KD, a little Sixers, a little Spurs, a little predictions coming up here in just a moment. But first up, the woman who runs the Bayless household here in Century City, about a mile or so from the Fox lot, where we do Undisputed live every weekday morning from 9:30 to noon Eastern Time on Fox Sports 1. Here in Shea Bayless, run mostly by my wife Ernestine, but in largest part by, you know her well, she's the star of the internet, Hazel. Hi Hazel, how are you? She thinks I'm yelling at her. I didn't mean that. I'm not yelling at you. Hi, Hazel. Thank you. I need to get my nose clean just before I do Facebook Live. Thank you. You're a very good girl. Hi, Hazel. Say hi to Facebook. She's not that interested tonight. She's looking for TREATS's from her mom because she's being a good girl. And if she pees on the pad, she gets a TREAT, and she definitely knows that word. So thank you very much, Ernestine. Now, back to business. Back to as fascinating an NBA playoffs upcoming as I can remember. Obviously, the most pressure in the known world is on the quote-unquote best player on the planet, one LeBron James. I love LeBron. Good guy, sometimes too good a guy, too nice a guy for his own good. Did you see what he did to Ty Lue? Did you see what the topic we did at the end of Undisputed today? The video from yesterday's media session in Cleveland, where Ty Lue was asked if he had, a stranger came up to him on the street and said, "Hey, what's it like coaching the Cavs?" And it took him like 45 seconds to gather himself because Ty Lue's aged 10 years in one. He's just sort of a shell of himself. I felt for the man. It's pitiable how difficult it is to coach the king. Every night it's something with the king. Now that's great for Undisputed, for me and LaShannon Sharp, my debate partner on Undisputed on Fox Sports 1. It is not great for the man who has to quote unquote coach the drama king that is the king, LeBron James. Every night it's something. It's some new storyline. He's just got this dynamic around him. LeBron's still kind of a man-child. I mean, he has childish ways, but he's obviously a very, very grown man. And there's so much good to LeBron, his social conscience, his charitable work, his brain. He's got the greatest basketball brain I've ever seen. But he just has this sort of childish force field around him in which he just has to create interest in himself. And as Stephen Jackson, whom you saw today on Undisputed, and I think he's back, if memory serves, tomorrow, Stephen Jackson, big three star that he is, former San Antonio Spur. I'm about to talk about the Spurs here in just a little bit. Hang on, Spurs fans. Stephen Jackson always says about LeBron James, he's the only superstar who has to keep telling you how great he is. He does. It just drives me nuts. LeBron, you're LeBron. You finished 15 regular seasons and you still have to wear shoes, sneakers, that say The King in dramatic white letters, The King on the backs of your sneakers, your 15s. I liked them. They're cool. I think about wearing those without the King on them. I'm a junk man. Sorry. I'm going to stick with brand Jordan. Famous Jordans. What do I got here? Hang on. Tomorrow, Undisputed, you will see these. Can you see them? Thank you very much. Originals. I will wear those with a black suit tomorrow. Thank you very much. But back to LeBron. He has worn out Ty Lue. Ty Lue had to take a sabbatical because he was just mentally and physically broken from trying to defend and deflect everything that LeBron does. And you know what a season this has been. It's been, again, it's fun to talk about every day. I'm in awe of it, actually. But every night it's something. Back to Arthur's Fist. Remember that after the first Knicks game? Ntilikina, LeBron get into it, Cantor's into it, blah, 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 is into it, and then LeBron was out of it. Remember this year, LeBron went 19 games where he just checked out on his basketball team and his basketball coach. Actually, he's the coach. LeBron James checked out on the Cleveland Cavaliers. I don't care what anybody says. I can prove it to you. My man Eddie House hates this stat, but it actually works, especially when applied to the best player on the planet. Over a 19-game stretch, starting December 24th, I believe, 19 straight games, LeBron's plus minus, that's just your basic stat for while you're on the floor, the score is what? Are you ahead or are you behind? And that starts to add up over time. And over those 19 games, LeBron James had the worst plus minus, the worst minus of any player in the whole NBA. I think at that point there were 518 players. Think about that. The best player on the planet went 19 games. That's like a quarter of the season. He was the worst player in productivity as far as scoreboard in the whole league. He checked out, man. He was done. He didn't like his team. He hated Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah, again, to LeBron's credit, Isaiah came in and wanted to be a co-star like he was the little LeBron. It was just laughably bad. But this only happens to LeBron. And obviously, Jay Crowder wasn't what LeBron thought he was going to be as a two-way player, a 3-and-D sort of player. Jay Crowder's playing pretty well for Utah right now. So Jay Crowder didn't like the LeBron vibe in the universe there that he creates. He is obviously the sun in that solar system. And some guys just can't take it. They can't take the drama. They can't take the chaos. They can't take the sort of crisis of night that is LeBron James because he feeds off it, but he can drag others just into oblivion, such as poor Ty Lue right now. But the point is, LeBron he came out of that because the executive of the year in the NBA is his owner that he despises, that he now coexists with, Dan Gilbert. Dan Gilbert won the trade deadline with splash, 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 splash. They add 4 pretty good players. They're not stars, but they're pretty good. I got to tell you, every time Rodney Hood played my Spurs, he just torched us. 6 foot 8 inch, dead-eye sniper 3-point shooter. Can drive it and slam it on occasion. Rodney Hood's pretty good. Jordan Clarkson can just light it up for the Lakers. And by the way, I picked the Lakers to be the 8th playoff team before the year started. Do you remember the days they had Jordan Clarkson and Larry Nance Jr. and Corey Brewer? I'm about to get to Corey Brewer. He is really good. He is a veteran pro of a basketball player. So they had all 3 of those guys on top of, obviously, Julius Randle and Brook Lopez and Brandon Ingram, and obviously Lonzo Ball. And I don't want to get off track on Lonzo Ball, but I am obviously a big Lonzo fan, and I don't know what happened. Lonzo did not click with his coach early on with the Lakers, with Luke Walton. That team was loaded with talent. That team has firepower, and every once in a while Lonzo lived up to it, and a lot of times he dragged it down. He just checked out. Speaking of checking out. He just checked out. I don't know. Passive-aggressive like LeBron, but way to a fault. He kind of walked the ball up the floor and flip it over to the wing and go stand over in the far corner. I don't know what happened to Lonzo Ball. Extremely gifted, special talent. That second game of the year, he goes to Phoenix. And, again, Earl Watson. Earl Watson's definitely going to be on Undisputed tomorrow, 9:30 to noon. Eastern on Fox Sports 1, but Earl Watson was then the coach of the Phoenix Suns. Just has nothing but great things spilling out of his mouth about Lonzo Ball because he'd watched him all the way up through the AAU ranks as a UCLA grad, obviously, where Lonzo went for the 1 year. And Earl Watson had to sit on the bench of the Phoenix Suns that second game of the year and watch Lonzo Ball go, 29 points. He scored 6 straight by just going right up through Tyson Chandler at 7 feet, 2 inches tall, or whatever Tyson is. And Lonzo took the game over. It went like 29, 11 rebounds, 9 assists. It's capable. Lakers were capable, but no. Now Jordan Clarkson, obviously Larry Nance Jr., have joined LeBron. George Hill, who I have some respect for, I don't love him, but He is a professional point guard, has joined LeBron. So Dan Gilbert wins the trade deadline, and all of a sudden LeBron takes off, but it's still one thing after another. It's internet posts, it's this, it's that. Then all of a sudden, I'm the MVP. You're the MVP? Oh, you're declaring yourself MVP. So we've come full circle. LeBron has help. We all agree he has help. And he got his coach back, his assistant coach, Ty Lue. And they've all gotten healthy. George Hill, I'm pretty sure, he looks pretty healthy to me. So they're all back. Here we go. I'll get to them in just a moment. Pressure is most on LeBron. I think they should be the favorite because the injury gods are jacking with us again, obviously. There's no Steph, at least for a round. There's no Joel Embiid, at least for a game in the Sixers series against Miami. And let's get back to Corey Brewer. But first, let's get back to Russell Westbrook, who has taken over the NBA again. I know it's been James Harden's year, but to me, Russell Westbrook is playing at an extraordinary level we have never seen from anybody, including LeBron James. I'm talking about a want-to level, a desire level, a passion level, an extreme, relentless attack mode level I have never seen. And I cannot tell you how much I admire it, even though I've said many times in the past, as much as I love watching Russell Westbrook, I would not want to play with Russell Westbrook. But he has sacrificed this year. His scoring average went from 30-ish to 25-ish. His usage rate fell pretty dramatically from mid-40s to sort of, I think it's 37%. This is how much you got the ball in your hands. I think last year was 46%, but obviously he added Paul George and he added Carmelo. And now he's added Corey Brewer. So he does have far more help than he had last year. But I am incensed and still offended and extremely aggravated and frustrated at my partner, LaShannon Sharp, and I'll get to the LaShannon part in just a minute. He's just been ridiculing Russell Westbrook for quote-unquote stealing rebounds and stat padding, while LeBron James, in his 15th year, led the whole league in minutes. LeBron led the league in minutes. Why did he do that? Why would you do that to your body in year 15 at age 33? 15 seasons in, you would lead the league in minutes a second straight year. Why would you do that, ladies and gentlemen? To stat pad. That's the only reason LeBron did it, is to build his stats, because that's the only argument he has left, is longevity stat padding argument against Michael Jeffrey Jordan, whom I covered his final year in Chicago with the Bulls, last Bull run. 1998, he's unmatched, he's unparalleled, he's uncatchable, is MJ. The reason I wear all of his shoes is just to honor the greatest, not just basketball player, the greatest performer we've ever had in any sport was Michael Jordan. And it just slays my soul when people try to say, oh, he's going to catch and pass Michael Jordan, who went 6-0 with 6 Finals MVPs, 6-0 in the NBA Finals. LeBron James is 3-5, and very potentially at this point, 3-6. Really? That LeBron is going to catch and pass Michael Jordan? How? Why? Where? So, wait a second. LeBron made a cameo last night in what became a mail-it-in game for the Cavs against the Knicks at home in Cleveland. He played 11 minutes just so he could say, I, for the first time in my career, played all 82 games. Michael Jordan played all 82 games 9 times. 9 times? And LeBron in year 15 finally did it once. Interesting. And because Russ is quote-unquote stat padding, Russell Westbrook, LeBron woke up a year ago and said, wait a second. The media loves triple doubles. Everybody's fixated, fascinated by Russell Westbrook averaging a triple double through the year. Could he do it? Could he hang on? Could he get enough rebounds? Yep, he did. I predicted it going into last year. I said Russell Westbrook will average a triple double and Russell Westbrook will win MVP. I called it before the year started. because his co-star Kevin Durant obviously had left him high and dry and joined forces with those 3 stars in the Bay Area. So, Russell Westbrook said, watch this. Maybe I can't beat you in the postseason, but I can beat you in the regular season, and he did. And he pulled it off, and he won the MVP last year, and then he posted that he was watching Sister Act 2 while KD and company were destroying LeBron James and the Cavaliers, and KD was winning the Finals MVP, thereby establishing himself as the best player on the planet. I don't care what Shannon Sharpe says. So now Shannon is bashing Russell Westbrook for quote-unquote stat padding by stealing rebounds. Cheap rebounds. What? There are no cheap rebounds. I don't care what you say. Pat Riley, the great Pat Riley, once said when he was the New York Knicks coach, famously said, no rebounds, no rings. It's all about rebounding. Russell Westbrook turned last year's Oklahoma City Thunder into the number 1 rebounding team in basketball. How did he do that? With sheer guts and desire. I want that basketball more than you want it. It's extraordinary. I would pay to watch Russell Westbrook. I watch every night. Sometimes he's up against LeBron, and I've got 2 TVs going, or I'm trying to watch them both, but I find my eyes wandering to Russell Westbrook. He is playing on a level of commitment and intensity every possession, every night we have never seen. I'm hoping that for the kids, Russell Westbrook is making it cool to play hard, because it didn't always used to be cool. I'm not sure it is now, especially when it comes to my guy Lonzo Ball. If only I could pour like 3 ounces of Russell Westbrook into Lonzo Ball, I might have something pretty close to Magic. I'm talking about Magic Johnson. I just might. Lonzo is so gifted. He's got such great vision, such great feel. When he wants to, Lonzo can play defense. He can block shots. He can steal the ball. He has such great anticipation. And he can rebound. For a while, remember, for maybe 2/3 of the year, Lonzo Ball led the Lakers in rebounding. Lonzo Ball easily could average a triple-double for a year. But he's going to have to kick his RPM up. His desire, his guts, his want to. I don't know, whatever that thing is that Russell Westbrook has. I've never seen anything like it before. It is a joy to watch, and it is awe-inspiring to watch. Just, do you know how much effort it takes to play as hard as he does? See ball, get ball. And I don't care if he's stealing rebounds. If he can steal a rebound that Carmelo might or might not have gotten, I want Russ to get it. If the opponent is shooting a free throw, I want Russ on the inside position. Because you get that. That's how the rules go. You know, you get to, if the opponent is shooting a free throw, you get the first chance at getting the rebound. I don't care if he's 6'3". He just fights his guts out for every loose ball. See ball, my ball. We should honor this. And now he's getting ripped for stat padding just because Carmelo, it really ticked me off what Carmelo's, he steals them occasionally. Carmelo's trying to make it a ha-ha. He's shaming Carmelo Anthony. That's what Russ is doing. Carmelo averages 7 rebounds for his career at 6'8", and he's a flat-out bull. Kobe always said the biggest load to cover in the low post is Carmelo. Kobe would always say, I want no part of trying to stop Melo in the low post, because he's got the caboose going, and he's got the shoulders, and he can bang you off him the way Mark Aguirre used to do back in my days covering the Dallas Mavericks way back when, in the 80s. And Mark Aguirre, remember him, the Muffin Man? He could just bump you with his butt and bump you off and turn and put it, shoot it softly off the glass. Melo's got that sort of game, and yet, does it translate into rebounds? No, because there's no desire. There's not enough heart for the basketball. So, he's making jokes about, Russ steals rebounds. Baloney he does. They're rebounds that are 50-50 balls, and it's about 50-50. You're going to get the 50-50 ball, Carmelo. So, Russ, once again, has turned the Thunder into the second best rebounding team in basketball, behind the team I'm about to get to in a couple of minutes, the 76ers. Whew! Here they come. They have arrived. So, I must admit, I am rooting for Russell Westbrook in this postseason. And I must admit, the injury gods are messing with my mind again, because did you see what happened last night in the quote-unquote sort of meaningless end-of-the-year game? Russ needed to get his 16 rebounds and got 20, obviously. But Corey Brewer, for whom I have high regard as a pro's pro, Corey Brewer has changed the way the Thunder played. Just one of those pickups off the street, so to speak. He's just sitting out there, and they sign him. And Lakers didn't have any use for him, obviously. He changed the way they play because he can run. Corey Brewer, we've had him on the show before. He's a long, I think they list him at 6'8", but just knows how to play. And he plays with some intensity. And he plays with length on defense and offense. And he can shoot the three fairly well enough to be a threat. And I know when they lost Robertson, you thought, oh, this is it. Nope, because he kicked up the offensive flow. He's got good sort of rapport or click. He's got good click with Russ. Boy, I like them a lot more with him. And then what happens? He gets his knee sprained. They're saying it's just sprained. It looked like it was bad. It looked like a rupture to me. But I don't know. Corey Brewer says he's going to try to play game one against Utah in the best matchup. The best matchup by far on either side of the bracket, East or West, is Oklahoma City, Utah. I have nothing but respect for Utah. Quinn Snyder should be the coach of the year, and Donovan Mitchell is the rookie of the year. I don't care. I don't care if Ben Simmons should be disqualified or not for his redshirt year. I don't even care about that. Donovan Mitchell just simply outplayed Ben Simmons. That kid can just flat out clutch shoot it from anywhere. He's going to be a load for Russell Westbrook. But I think Russell Westbrook has finally come of age in the postseason. I like this Oklahoma City team if Corey Brewer is like 90% okay and he can sort of play his way back onto his knee and it doesn't balk or bother him or obviously fail him. I like the Thunder because they do have the home court in the 4 versus 5. They did need to win their game, obviously, against Memphis. I like them to win. I think it's going to take 7 games. I think it's going to be a hellacious barn burner of a finish in Oklahoma City. And I think they will win that series in 7 games, which will lead them to the Rockets, who will just run right through Minnesota. I watched Minnesota last night. I know it was a good game down to the wire, the Minnesota-Denver game. Those are 2 not very good teams. I'm sorry. I just didn't love the way the game was played. It did get very physical and crazy at the end. Shots were missed badly and some were made, but Houston obliterated Minnesota. Do they play 4 or 3? I can't remember. They just obliterated them every time. Just wiped them out. This will be a wipeout. I think Houston could sweep Minnesota, which would lead us right on into James Harden versus Russell Westbrook. Can't wait. And I got Russell Westbrook. James Harden's had just an all-time great year. He deserves MVP over LeBron. His PER is higher. Just what he's done for that team, the record that they've achieved. It's the greatest year in the history of Houston basketball, obviously regular season-wise. I just don't believe in the postseason. I don't believe in James Harden. I don't believe in Chris Paul. I don't believe in Mike D'Antoni. I just don't believe in those 3. They're triumvirate. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but I used it yesterday on Undisputed, 9:30 to noon Eastern on Fox Sports 1. James Harden is sub 500 in the postseason. Chris Paul is 33 and 44. I think it's 33 and 44. Don't hold me to that. It might be 33-43. But he's like 10 games under 500 in the postseason. Has never even been to the conference finals once. James got there once and went out ingloriously against Golden State in its first title run. And I still can't get over what happened to James Harden because I think a lot of Rockets fans can't get over what happened to James Harden in Game 6, the closeout game against my Spurs last year's playoffs. No Kawhi, no Tony Parker, and it was an annihilation. It seemed like what did it get up to like a 40-point wipeout? James Harden went so far south, APB issued, couldn't find him, and that James Harden, that part of his split personality is still out there somewhere on the loose. Can't find him. That's the guy who I'm afraid is going to return right on schedule in some big game against the Thunder. I got the Thunder knocking the Rockets out. I got the Thunder getting to, and I'll go through this in just a second. I got them getting to the conference finals. Depending on how the injury gods play with us, toy with us, or maybe honor us with their presence, I could see Oklahoma City getting to the finals. I know you think I'm crazy, but I'm pretty swept up in rust. This just feels like his year. So he's gone back-to-back, averaging triple-double. He's just on a mission. He's been on a mission to get even with Kevin Durant. And, man, that leads me back to my San Antonio Spurs. Congratulations, Spurs, on a sensational year. A year of remarkable overachievement. You didn't have your best player. And if any of you Spurs are watching right now, you all know, and I know, you won't say it publicly, Kawhi Leonard quit on you this year. And it just tears my guts out to say this publicly, but he just quit. I'm sorry. He played all of 9 games, 9 of 82 games, and continued to bellyache about some sort of quad issue. And I'm pretty close to this situation. I know a lot of people involved. And again, I can't put myself in Kawhi's body. I've said this my whole career. I wish I had some machine that I could, put my hand in and Kawhi could put his hand in. And then for 5 minutes, we could both kind of jump up and down and I could feel exactly what Kawhi was feeling in his quote-unquote bruised quad. And maybe I'd say, oh, God, that's terrible. How do you even walk with that? Or maybe I would say, and probably I would say, come on, Kawhi, seriously? It's a little tender, but you're okay, man. It's basketball, it's NBA. This is it. I picked the Spurs before the season to win it all, and they would have won it all with Kawhi Leonard. And Kawhi Leonard flat out left them high and dry and quit on them because he could not live up to the hype and expectations that many put on him by predicting he would win the MVP this year, and he certainly had a good shot, and he crumbled under the pressure to be the next Tim Duncan for the Spurs. Not that he has Tim Duncan's game, obviously, but just to be the face of the franchise. He crumbled right on schedule. And now I look back at what happened last year. Game 1, Spurs at Golden State, at Oakland, Game 1 of the conference finals. Remember this game? After the obliteration of James Harden in Houston. Game 1, my Spurs are up 23 points mid-third quarter. And Zaza Pacheep shot sticks his size, whatever it is, 20 shoe, underneath Kawhi's foot as he came down from a jumper. And ankle turned, and that was the end of Kawhi, and that was the end of my Spurs. If Kawhi stays upright and healthy, they not only win that game, but Golden State's in big trouble because my Spurs play well at Oracle. They just like it there. They've always played well in that building. They had won Game 1 there last year, regular season, by about 30 points. They would have had a great shot of winning Game 2 and putting Golden State in a hole they could not have climbed back out of. I believe that those Spurs, without Zaza Pacheep shot, would have eliminated Golden State and beaten the King in 5 games, just the way they did the last time they played him in 2014 when they blew out LeBron James' Miami Heat by a record finals margin in 5 games. That's what would have happened again last year. I'm not saying it would have been a record margin, but it would have been Spurs in 5 over LeBron. They just have his number. They know how to play him. Kawhi knows how to play him, if he knows how to play himself. Just couldn't take the heat, couldn't take the pressure. Took a knee to the thigh, Kawhi Leonard did. And he continued to bellyache about it. Then he wouldn't practice. Then he played 3-on-3 with the videographers for a while. It's just too weird. Then he fired his agent. Then his uncle took over all of his affairs, business, professional affairs. And it sounded like he started whispering sweet nothings in Kawhi's ear about you're better than this, you're better than the Spurs. And think about this, the most conservative and patient medical team in all of sports, the Spurs. The most conservative and patient in all of sports. 2 months now, it's about 2.5 months ago, cleared Kawhi Leonard to play basketball. No, I got my own guy. I got my own trainer. just wrecks me. This team was really good. This team was really loaded. And just to show you how good it is and would have been with Kawhi, I'm just going to leave you with this point. Think about this. My Spurs with no Kawhi Leonard came within one game of having the best home record in the NBA. Came within one game. Houston and Toronto had one game better than my Spurs. Now, my Spurs on the road, they flipped their old identity. They used to be the best team on the road in the NBA, the team I trusted the most on the road, loved them on the road, never really loved them at home, a little shaky at home, and they flipped the identity switch this year because they're playing without their best player. So the crowd got more into the Spurs than the crowd used to be a little kind of LA-ish because it was a little spoiled, I must say, Spurs Nation. After all those championships, 5 championships, Duncan, Ginobili, Parker, it's just after a while, you just kind of go to be entertained instead of trying to lift the team. You want the team to lift you out of your seat. And this year, the team lifted the Spurs. The crowd lifted the team. It was reversed. And Manu Ginobili should be the 6th man of the year. I don't care. He only played 20 minutes a game, most of them in the fourth quarter. It's like second and fourth quarter. And he just led the shock troop charge. He was sensational at a Brady-esque age 40. Just took over game after game after game. He closed for this team. But they're just a home team. They had by far the worst road record of any of the playoff teams. They're actually 2 games worse than Minnesota, but they're way worse than anybody else. So, bottom line, they draw Golden State. I'm sorry, I can't do it. I'm sorry, Spurs Nation, I just can't do it. What's going to happen is Golden State will win the first 2 at their place. I believe the Spurs, with their 7th man crowd, because the 6th man is Ginobili, will rise up and win 2 games at home, and it'll be 2-2 going back to Oracle, and they'll win there, and then it'll come back to San Antonio for Game 6, and the Spurs will just run out of psychological gas, and that will be the end of that. So I'm going to say Golden State in 6, and I'm going to say it's Golden State and Oklahoma City to get to the finals. And now it's all about Steph Curry. I just don't know. Is he going to be that right? Is he going to come back strong? Is he going to come back gimpy? Is he going to come back at all? Who knows? He's supposed to come back for the second round, but that's cloudy to me. It's murky. Really? Are you sure? I don't know. How can you really project? What will he be when he comes back? Will they immediately flip their switch and get right back in sync? I don't know. Kevin Durant's still the best player on the planet now. And he will be, to me, enough to get by the Spurs. Like they got Kevin Durant, we don't have Kawhi. So it's going to boil down to that. But, boy, I don't know. Against Westbrook, this is going to be fascinating because Westbrook will play possessed against Kevin Durant. It'll be the greatest theater of the NBA season. I can't wait. I'm going to hold off on that prediction here for just a second. I'm going to go back to the East. So, I have apologies, which I've made on Undisputed, 9:30 noon Eastern on Fox Sports 1. I have apologized to 2 cities because all year long on Undisputed, I said LeBron would have yet another Eastern Conference cakewalk all the way to the finals. For a while, it felt like LeBron could just 12-0 it, just cruise through the East to the finals. And all of a sudden, off radar, 2 things started happening. The Philadelphia 76ers won their last 16 games, and a bunch of them were without Joel Embiid. And once he went down and out, even though it looks like he might come back for, again, he's going to miss Game 1, I'm pretty sure, but is he going to come back and come back strong? Again, huge question I can't answer right now. But the 76ers have arrived. And I'm going to say this again for the sake of some of the Cowboy fans perhaps watching. This team is reminding me of the 1992 Dallas Cowboys, the Troy, Emmett, Michael, Jimmy Jerry Dallas Cowboys. Because that team, which I covered and wrote a book about, was seen as a team on the verge, but a team that had not arrived. And it arrived 1 year ahead of schedule, in part because Jerry Jones pulled off the deal to land Charles Haley away from the rival 49ers to the Cowboys, and he was the difference maker. But on experience. That team wasn't ready yet. And then it went to San Francisco, and somehow Troy hit Alvin Harper with the game breaker, and they shocked the 49ers and Steve Young at their place and got to the Super Bowl and obviously just annihilated Buffalo. This Sixers team reminds me of that team because it's arriving a year ahead of schedule. And it hasn't obviously added Charles Haley. But when it adds Bellinelli, who's been there and done all that with the Spurs in 2014, won the NBA three-point shooting contest, and helped shoot LeBron right in the stomach and shoot him right out of the gym in 5 games in that finals, again by a record margin. Bellinelli knows how to play. He's playing at an extremely high level, shooting at a high level. Ersan Ilyasova can play NBA basketball. He is another pro's pro at about 6'10", and he gives them veteran toughness. And all of a sudden, right on schedule, Markelle Fultz, remember that guy who was the first pick in the draft? He's back. And last night he looked really good. He's been looking pretty good. Last night really good. Had a triple-double. And he's the one guy on the second unit who can just get his shot anytime he wants it. Man, wait a second. And Justin Anderson can just flat shoot the 3 on the second unit. And TJ McConnell can shoot the 3 and plays with such poise and confidence for such a little tough guy. Their second unit is really deep and loaded with firepower. God, if Embiid comes back strong, man, they're going to be a handful for LeBron in the conference finals. So, we're back to LeBron. The other apology, so I'm apologizing to the city of Philadelphia. I didn't see that coming. And to the city of Indianapolis, I did not see your team coming. It's by 6 games better than your team last year, featuring Paul George, who I call George Paul because he mostly plays like George Paul. Now, I love the Thunder because he's now in that complimentary star role. He's sort of a little better Oladipo. Now Oladipo's playing at a higher level as the man in Indy. But Miles Turner, I like Miles Turner. I like Sabonis. I like Collison. I like Bogdanovich. I like this Indiana team because it's extremely well coached, and it still has Lance Stevenson. And what I love about Lance Stevenson is he really loves to play LeBron, and he loves to blow in his ear and get under his skin and get in his head. And he does it every time. And he has the body, sort of the stature, and the sort of brazen guts to match up with him. He's just not afraid of LeBron. He loves to guard him, and he loves to go at him on offense. Is he as good? No, he's not as good as LeBron. But he has the stature, and he has sort of the New York playground flair to sort of cancel him out on occasion, especially in big clutch kind of moments. Okay? I like it. And I like that Indiana, I know they played, all the games were long ago, they were pre-trade deadline, but Indiana established a sort of a psychological hold on the King this year. Indiana beat Cleveland 3 out of 4 times. Wow, interesting. So, here we go. So, the key to this series is it Saturday or no, Sunday? I'm getting the games mixed up. Sunday, I think it's Sunday afternoon. Yes, I'm sorry. Sunday afternoon. I think it's 12:30 here, Pacific time, 3:30 Eastern. Indiana at Cleveland. Game 1 is the game in this series. If Indiana wins game 1, I'm going to like Indiana to knock the King out in the first round. Do I think they will? I don't. But I would love them if they won game 1 because it would really set the King back on his heels that say the King on the back of his heels. He's got a Jordan Clarkson and a Larry Nance Jr. and a Rodney Hood and a George Hill who have not been here and done this before. George Hill has, obviously, with the Spurs. But those first 3, and George Hill hasn't done it with the King. But the spotlight is going to be scalding on those 4 players as the new Cavs on Sunday. And let's see if they rise to it or shrink under it, because I say these new Cavs, this team goes as Jordan Clarkson and Rodney Hood go. if they're making their threes, it just lifts everybody, and all of a sudden JR, Kevin Love, they're making their threes. There's something about that second unit that's crucial. Jeff Green's been playing at a high level. Obviously, they're a good team. Kyle Korver, when he gets going, can really, really get it going. But I still say, if Indiana, coming off the year that they've had, without George Paul, as I call him, remember, George Paul killed them last year. They had Cleveland in trouble. Remember game 1 at Cleveland? It was 1 year ago on a Saturday, because I remember I was upstairs on the treadmill watching the game. Running on the treadmill, watching, and I was just mesmerized because Indiana wouldn't go away. And all of a sudden, Paul George has the ball in his hands at the end of the game with a chance to win game 1 at Cleveland. And he turns down one shot, and then Richard Jefferson fouls him, which sort of starts the play over, kind of saves him from himself. And then he starts into another play, and he doesn't want to shoot it. He's afraid to shoot it. And finally, it was, who was it, C.J. Miles? He kicks it to him, and C.J.'s like, okay, I'll shoot it. And he missed. And that was it. Remember, there had been a late season game at Cleveland that went double overtime, and George Paul had multiple chances to win it, a 3 in regulation, then a free throw that he could have made at the end of the first overtime, and then another one later. He's as I said on Undisputed today, he's not just a poor man's LeBron, he's a destitute man's LeBron, is Paul George. And people who say he's going to be like the savior of the Lakers, I'm like, what? He's a complimentary star who's in the perfect spot with Russell Westbrook right now, and Carmelo. He needs to be that other guy who does some of the dirty work and kind of goes along for the ride, rides shotgun. Well, they don't have him as the man, like their quote-unquote superstar who can't live up to being a superstar. Now they're just a basketball team that moves the ball and plays really hard on defense. They're the 5th best defense in basketball. They're going to be a tough out for the King. I'll still say at this moment, I don't think they can pull it off. So I'll say they don't win game 1. I'm just saying if they do, I'm swinging for the fences. But I'll still say the King gets by that in 6 games, gets by Indiana. And I'll say the King gets through Toronto in 4 games. I have no respect for the Toronto Raptors. What does my man Shannon Sharp call them, the baby dinosaurs? That's basically what they are. At the mere sight of the beast of the East, LeBron James, they all just cower and genuflect and say no mas. And that's what's going to happen. I think it could be 4 and done for them, which brings me back full circle. Now, obviously, if Embiid can't play against Miami, it's going to be hard for the Sixers to get through a Miami that has played them tough all year long. But they have come of age here over the last 16 games. So even without Embiid, it may take 7 games against D. Wade and company, but I think they can get through it. Then I think Boston will upset Milwaukee because the Greek Freak can, freak you out on any regular season given night. I just don't see him in the playoffs. I thought he came up really small against Toronto last year. I'll bet you Boston will just out-fox and out-basketball and be out-coached. They will out-coach Milwaukee. I think Boston upsets Milwaukee, and then it would be Sixers-Boston, and the Sixers especially if Embiid comes back strong, if he's Joel Embiid, if he's that guy, the best center in basketball, a 7-foot force, along with the 7-foot point guard force that has been Simmons, Sixers are just too loaded. So, Sixers, LeBron, finals. If it comes to that, guess who has home court advantage? The Sixers do. I'm sorry. I'm going Sixers. I'm just going Sixers. Game 7. We talked about it today on Undisputed. Again, 9:30 noon Eastern on Fox Sports 1. I just think it's their year, their time. They've arrived a year early. Ben Simmons is not afraid of, the head of Clutch Sports, or as I call it, Unclutch Sports with a K. That's LeBron James. Ben Simmons loves to play big against LeBron. Joel Embiid taunts LeBron. That whole team is not afraid of LeBron except maybe Saric, and I love his talent. God, he can shoot it. Woo. But he's the one who said, LeBron ain't afraid of LeBron. Yeah, baloney. The rest of his guys are not. Maybe they'll take him along for a great ride. Covington. Remember, Philly is the number 1 defensive team in basketball. Robert Covington is number 2 in individual defensive win shares. I think it goes Embiid 6, Ben Simmons 8. And even J.J. Redick, who I didn't even mention as a sharpshooter. J.J. Redick, I think he's like in the 20s in defensive win shares. He's playing, finally, defense at a high level. That's the best defensive team and the number one rebounding team. And they've turned into one of the best clutch shooting, sharp shooting, three-point shooting teams in basketball. I think they're up to second now. That's a lethal combination, man. The King is going to have to be all-time kingly. I just don't know if he's got that in him. I'm just not sure. Game 7, I would like the Sixers. If it gets to Game 7, obviously it's in Philadelphia, I like the Sixers. That game, I'm losing track of, was it last? Yeah, last Friday night. That was a statement game made by the home team. They're just blowing people away, and they blew away the Cavaliers. Up by 30. They, as young teams are wont to do, took foot off psychological gas, and here came the King, and he was a force. He was spectacular. If LeBron just attacks the rim, but remember, they don't have Embiid. But when they have Embiid, LeBron can't just play bully ball at the rim. Remember what happened March 1st at Cleveland? Remember that game? The Sixers just took them apart because LeBron can't get to the rim at will the way he can against just about anybody else. That's against Embiid and Simmons. They're two 7-footers who are not afraid. So that's such a lethal combination for Cleveland, who has lots of nice new parts, but are they all going to click, and are they all going to rise and shine under the hottest spotlight? Again, this is all hinging on Embiid's health. If he's right, if he comes back full force, I'm talking about full force, I got the Sixers in the finals. And now I'm going to make a pick that I've been weighing as I'm talking. And I reserve the right to sleep on this and change by tomorrow when I have to make my picks on Undisputed. Again, you can watch us 9:30 to noon Eastern on Fox Sports 1. This is probably complete heart over head. Again, I'm a Spurs fan, lifelong, from back to the Iceman George Gervin days. Way before my hometown even thought about having a professional basketball team, Oklahoma City. So maybe now I'm going back to my roots. I just like the Thunder. I don't know, there's something about him. There's something about Russell's mission that he's on. I just think he's going to take over the playoffs. It's just a gut feeling. They don't have a lot of depth, although I do like Grant coming off the bench, and I like Felton coming off the bench. Abrinas occasionally. I don't know. They're not that deep. They're not like Sixers deep. Or they're not Cavaliers deep. Spurs, they got depth. But they got Russ. Nobody else has Russ. So, again, this would probably require that Steph wasn't quite right. But even if he is, I'm going with Russ. I'm going with Russ. This is his year to get even with Kevin Durant. And it would be the greatest theater maybe of the sports year. I don't know. Nick Foles over Tom Brady as Bill Belichick gave up 41 points while Malcolm Butler was doghoused on the sideline. That was pretty wild theater. I'll give you that. But just have a feeling, Thunder. And again, it's going to be hard for them to get past Utah. It'll be hard to get past the Rockets. What a road. You want to talk about a road? Whew, that's a road. But I'm going to go with the Thunder to get past Golden State and play the Sixers. And if it came to that, you know what? I'm going to save that for tomorrow. I'll save it for Undisputed. We're going to crank up tomorrow. 6:30 here Pacific time, 9:30 Eastern, till noon Eastern on Fox Sports 1. We appreciate you. We appreciate our ratings. We appreciate you watching and watching faithfully. I can't wait for these playoffs. I can't wait to watch Russell Westbrook. I hope that my Spurs pull off some shocking upset and get their revenge over Golden State, but I just can't see it. And I hope that the King survives Indiana because I love to talk about LeBron James. I'm going with Russ. I'm sticking to it. I appreciate you watching, listening, hanging with me. and I can't wait to debate my man, LaShannon Sharp, from whom last night I won 2 more cases of Diet Mountain Dew. And I'll leave you with this. He makes all these bets. He said that I suckered him into a bet the other day, which was that Philly won't win home court over Cleveland. He did it. I didn't do it. He initiated the bet. I just took it. Is that suckering somebody into a bet? I don't think so. So then he bet me before the year LeBron would shoot 80% or better from the free throw line. And I said, thank you. For what? A case of Diet Mountain Dew? He once, about 3 weeks ago, Shannon bet me $1 billion on this crazy thing that he thought I'd said about Nick Foles, which was wrong. So he lost $1 billion to me there. But now that he lost the 80% bet because LeBron shot, I don't know what it was, 73%, which he always shoots. He's just not a very good free throw shooter, which is just shameful. And he's definitely not a very good free throw shooter with the game on the line, as we saw the other night in Philadelphia. But now Shannon has tripled down, I guess you will, and he has bet me that LeBron will shoot 80% in this postseason from the free throw line. I will give you a better shot, LeBron, at that if you're watching. I know you're supposed to be 0 dark 30, but that doesn't mean you can't watch. So I'll give you a shot at that, but I still say you'll fall just short at about 70. I think you'll shoot 79% in the postseason, and I will win yet another case of Diet Mountain Dew that he will probably not pay me off with, because these things just mount up and he's overwhelmed by it. That's my NBA preview. Thank you for listening, watching. I will see you tomorrow, 9:30 Eastern Time until noon Eastern Time on Fox Sports 1. For Hazel and for Ernestine, I'm Skip, over and out Facebook Live.